I imagine part of the change of perspective would be things like just helping people understand that part of the caregiving process is saying goodbye
Yes.
to their loved one.
Yes. It's sometimes a very slow goodbye. But aging doesn't have a cure. You know, there actually is an end to a caregiver's job. And it's a sad end because we're losing someone that we love usually. But if we realize that each day we're making their life as comfortable as possible, instead of always looking at it as a job, oh boy, I've got to do this again, you know. You look at it and I have an opportunity to do it again. Instead of dreading it, you have the chance to do it to help your parent be comfortable and have a more pleasant end to their lives.
So the shift from I'm stuck with a job that's very unpleasant to I'm saying goodbye to my parent can be really probably liberating.
It is. I've seen people go from ready to jump off the poly to actually smiling at home again. And it gives me a wonderful sense when I see them in the community and they're feeling good again. Nothing's changed at home. In fact, usually it's gotten worse. The care level has gone up. But they don't feel so, I don't even know a good word for it right now, but frustrated and trapped. Those are good words.
Okay. Now, in addition to dealing with emotional issues, there are more mundane issues that need to be dealt with in the caregiving process. And
Many. Everything from knowing how to feed someone who needs help eating, to taking the keys away from dad if he's not able to drive anymore, to just understanding what types of equipment are out there that can help. So many different things, and people often spend a lot of time just trying to find the information. Or they have no time to find the information because the level of care takes up all their time. So we're able to step in and kind of be what they need. If there's a special area that they can't figure out, they can call us. We'll do the research. Probably we've already done it. But that way we can access the information and put people in touch with resources that we may not have that are appropriate for them. So it's really important. I wanted to mention one more thing on the emotional side.
Sure. Yeah.
When families are trying to plan how they're going to give care to a family member, a lot of times it becomes tremendously contentious. They're fighting with each other. Brother has one idea of how mom should be cared for, and sister who lives in Utah came home and she disagrees. It should be a whole different level of care. So we have a program where we'll get the entire family together from the mainland, from the neighbor islands, wherever. We all sit down at the same time and we hash it out. We use a trained facilitator, so there's not just a great fighting match across the table. And we have a whole formal program that we go through. But the result of that is everybody understands what is needed, and everybody has committed or said that they will not commit. So that everybody's clear about everybody else's involvement. It really does help families.
Do you have a name for that powwow?
We call it a family caregiver planning meeting. Kind of a mouthful, but it says what we do. Very descriptive. But it's very important. Families in a time of care need to come together, not fly apart.
Yeah, and that is just, when there is tension in the air because of other issues, a lot of things can let loose. I've seen that in many circumstances. Now, you said that you bring in a trained facilitator.
Yes.
What kind of skills does that person bring to the table?
Well, they've actually been trained in facilitation. So the skills that they bring is how to help people say what they want, express their own wishes without arguing. They're able to bring it down to, instead of saying, I don't want this, you say, I would like to have this instead. So you personalize the information person by person and get it all on the table, and then you begin asking them, what can you agree on? What of these points? Let's say that you've been working on a plan and everybody has come up with different ideas, but everybody realizes that mom wants to stay at home. They may not have all said that, But the facilitator will bring them back to that and go right around the table. Do you agree that mom would rather stay at home? Then that is something to work from. So a person that is a good facilitator will do this in many different points and get them all down. We actually write them down. Mm-hmm. Then they go back around the table and they say, now what will you commit to make this happen? And get everybody to participate in that. And nobody gets off scot-free. If they don't want to commit, they say so. Mm-hmm. And we've had that happen. We've had people get up from the table and say, I'm out of here. I refuse to be involved. I had one case where it was 2 sisters and a brother. And brother left. And I looked at the sisters and said,
you mean left the meeting?
Left the meeting. He said, I'm out of here. I'm not going to be involved. And it was a situation with their father. And I asked the sisters, are you okay with that? Do you want to continue to the meeting? They said, oh yeah, we understand. He and Dad never got along anyway. So now instead of fighting, and I tell you, if they hadn't had this meeting, the sisters would be saying, brother never helps. But because they had the meeting, they had to face the fact that brother will not help. Okay, let's put that on the side. We don't need to be upset about that. We understand it. Mm-hmm. And we went on with the planning and developed a good plan for Dad. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it takes somebody to guide the family through that process. And it's very critical for some families.
It sounds almost like a Ho'oponopono process where everybody around the table gets to say what their views are, what their feelings are. In
fact, one of the facilitators that we try to use is actually a trained Ho'oponopono person. Mm-hmm. So it is the same process.
Yeah. One of the things that I've found in mediation, which is sort of a similar process to what you're describing, is that where you have a facilitator who can reflect back.
Yes.
And who can restate the different parties' positions and the different parties' feelings. Right. When the other parties hear that coming from the facilitator instead of coming from the brother or the sister with whom they've been feuding for 10 years, it's a lot easier for them to receive it and really
it's a funny thing. When you take those sibling rivalries away, I've even seen situations where they'll lean across and say, now see, he understands. And all you've done is restate the other person's position. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Our goal is to get a plan that the family can work together on. Because when you're saying goodbye to somebody, you want to have everybody involved. Some families have had almost miraculous reunitings around caregiving. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, the majority of families fall apart because of it. Because caregiving typically ends up with the oldest daughter taking care. That's how it usually ends up here in Hawaii. If I'm asking a group who's taking care, all the women's hands go up, and I ask them, how many of you are eldest daughters? Almost the same number of hands go up. There is a good trend in sons beginning to take care of their parents, usually because there's nobody else. But nonetheless, it is good to see that men are getting more involved in caregiving.
And if it's not the son, it's the wife of the eldest son or whomever,
And a mother-in-law, daughter-in-law situation can be very interesting in caregiving. Yeah. If they didn't have the friendliest relationship and now they depend on each other actually, sometimes it works and sometimes it's really tough.
One of those challenges.
Yeah.
Now, another whole area that people probably need assistance with is just figuring out how to get the bills paid, how to bring in whatever vendors they need. Does the Caregiver Foundation help with those kind of things?
Yes, actually we have a service for people that is bill paying. We call it daily money management. And it can have a level from simply helping someone write the checks and get them in the mail to actually taking on legal responsibility for their income and all of their bills and managing their money for them. It's a very good thing to help families not fight over money. If the money is off the table,
because it's in the hands of a neutral third party. It's in the hands
of a neutral party. Anybody involved, as long as the parent is in agreement, can inspect the books. It's all open. They get audited statements. It's bonded and insured. And it gives a family something they can really depend on. There's none of this, what were you spending mom's money on? I thought she had more than that. Or down the road somebody says, I know she had money in the bank and you're driving a new car, I bet you spent mom's money on it.
Yeah, it is really easy to
And
assume
it's
the
easy
worst.
to do
but-
also.
yeah.
And sometimes it's almost by accident.